And welcome everyone to the PCS Like a Pro Show. I'm your host, Megan Harless, as always, and apologies that we're getting started a little bit late today. We were having some technical issues in the studio that we were troubleshooting and navigating through so we could be able to make this happen today because you do not want to miss what we have lined up for you today. So take a moment, go grab a pen, go grab a notepad or whatever. You're going to want to take some notes because this is information that everybody needs to know. Before we dive into all of that, just want to remind everybody that we have peak season quickly approaching. And I know for many of our families that you have your moves set up in DPS already, planning a move after May 15. You may not have gotten the email yet with your TSP assigned. And that's because every year we go through a rate filing process. And it's expected within the next couple of weeks, those emails should start going out to all of you that have your moves set up with your TSPs assigned. If you don't have an email yet, do not panic. Everybody is in the same boat. So it's not just you. If you get to beginning of May and you still don't have an email yet and you're planning a move in May or early June, I would reach out to your local transportation office. At that time, they can be able to assist you with your move. But it's all slowly coming. So we're going to dive into today because it's a lot of information that everybody really needs to know in regards to their move and really just life in general. So we're going to be talking about insurance today and the insurance you need to know specifically for your move, how to cover everything, how all of that works. So joining me today is we have Bryce from one of our favorite companies, Armed Forces Insurance.
Good morning, everyone.
Can you just take a moment and tell us about yourself, Bryce?
Sure, happy to. Again, as you said, my name is Bryce Palmer. I am with Armed Forces Insurance. I am the AVP of Affinity Programs here, but that is just a fancy way of saying that I am essentially one of the people who goes out and educates, informs, discusses real-world insurance events to all of you. Letting you know what is changing, what is out there, what's coming down the pike, and what things you should be aware of. So, I'm excited to be here and look forward to as exciting as insurance can be, Megan. Looking forward to discussing these matters because they are important to all families out there.
Yes, we're going to do our best to make insurance exciting.
Yes.
It can feel like a very scary, daunting thing, a very adult thing to do. But it's a very much needed thing. And I know every month I hate having to click that button that says pay now to pay our insurance bill. But I always know that in the event something happens, like it's there, we can be covered. We've got a little safety net. But we're going to try to break it down to what you guys need to know, how it applies to you, and hopefully answer a lot of those questions. So if you've got questions about insurance and moving and all of that, drop them in the comments. Bryce will answer everything he can. If not, I know he'll go find the answer and bring it back because he's not getting rid of us. He'll be here forever. We'll probably have him on again at some point in time as well. So let's dive right into all of this. So
Sure.
Why is it important for a family to carry some type of insurance policy during a move?
Peace of mind. That is the easiest way. Whether you're doing a military move or a ditty move, it doesn't. Either way, you want to make sure you have some level of coverage. Through a military move, yes, there is protection for you during that move if something happens to your goods, but there's a limit to that protection. And what a lot of military families and any family, it really doesn't matter. What they don't realize is just how much stuff they have. The most underestimated, I guess the one thing that people underestimate in their home is exactly how much they own. Because we all buy stuff years ago. Oh, I've had that couch for 5 years, or I've had that table for 10 years, or I've had that TV for 10 years. It's not worth anything. But with insurance, everything, if you have the right policy with replacement cost, everything will be bought new if something does occur. So that 10-year-old TV, you got to go buy new. You're not going to find another 10-year-old TV. You don't want to find another 10-year-old TV. And with prices going up, I mean, if anyone's gone to the supermarket today, you know your prices are going up on everything. Having enough coverage in case the worst case scenario happens is extremely important, because the last thing you want to have happen, and I've already heard of one this year, is where a moving truck lights on fire and all of your stuff is gone and you don't have enough to cover, or the moving company or whomever doesn't have enough to cover your belongings.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That peace of mind. We got Isabel here in the comments talking
Yeah.
about her experience of she lost her wedding ring once and it was covered with her insurance policy. And so she absolutely loves paying that bill every month when it comes.
I
Um,
It's the one product that I hope that we sell, and we hope you never have to use. But when you do, you are thankful you have it because of that very reason. We can't, no insurance company can replace that sentimental value on that wedding ring, but at least we can get, work to get that ring back or something of like, what they call like, kind, and quality back to you.
yeah, no, absolutely. I always joke with my husband if something ever were to happen to one of our rings that we'd have to have another wedding for
How does that conversation go?
for he just kind of agrees to it and says whatever because he knows I'm set in my ways. My great ideas, y'all. It's great. Our house is fun, I promise. God love him. But yeah, it's something, as you said, we need to have. It's that safety net, and then we hope to never have to use it. But in those times that we do, we're always thankful for it. It's like a car warranty. You
Yep.
hate paying the little bit of extra for your car warranty. I will tell you, I hated when I agreed to that car warranty. I will tell you, I have used it about 5 times in the last 2 years. And I love that I only have to pay $200. And the last thing we had fixed on it was like a $2,500 between part and labor and stuff. And I only paid $200 of that. And I was just like,
Yep.
thank you, car warranty. I haven't gotten the phone calls about extending it. Hopefully never do. So many people have a homeowner's policy when they buy a home and then they
Mhm.
sell. At some point, that policy usually ends. Some end the day you close, some kind of carry over the rest of the month. At what point, I mean, they think, we'll wait until we move and we'll get a new policy at our new home. Why is it bad to just let that one end and then have a gap and then waiting until you get to your new home?
No, that's a great question because it is something a lot of people don't think of is that you're selling your home, say April 1st, and you're buying your new home, doesn't you're not moving into it and say April 20th, and now there's a 20-day gap or a 30-day gap or whatever that gap is, and every family and every situation is different. So the biggest piece of advice I can give any any family out there is talk to your agent, let them know your situation, because each company, our company is different than other companies, how they handle these situations. Every policy can be different. So make sure you talk to your insurance agent or the insurance company and tell them your scenario and make sure your items are covered for the very reasons that we talked about just here a few minutes ago. What happens if you put your items into storage or they're in transit on the moving truck and the tornado, hurricane, fire? We can go through the list of bad things that can happen and that do happen. How is that covered and how is that going to be handled and do you have enough coverage? So the minute you sell your home and if that closing date happens and your home policy ends, so does your all your coverage for your home, your personal property, the works. And if you don't have another one that's picking up on the back end and there's that gap, you could be in a world of hurt. I don't want to speak for every policy because again, every policy is different. But oftentimes when you're moving, there's a 30-day window or there's a 30-day period while your belongings are in transit that your home or your renter's policy will cover to your next location. But the key is your policy has to be active. The minute you cancel, that they're like, nope, you canceled on the first, you had a claim on the second, they're not going to go back and pay it because they're not
Yeah.
legally obligated to. It's not they're not being mean, they're just not legally obligated to, and that's just the way it is. So talk to your agent. That's the best piece of advice that I'll give, and you'll probably hear me repeat this throughout the questions you have. And make sure you know what I go read your policy. Sure, everyone should read their policy. You will pass out after about a page, just from boredom. So talk to your agent. Those of us who and know what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Knowing what your policy covers, knowing the duration of what it covers, as you said, really helps give you expectations for what is and is not covered and
Yep.
talking to your agent. So in general, how does an insurance policy really help in the event of someone's household goods being lost or damaged?
Okay. So that's a really dangerous question and a broad question because the answer is again, it depends. So much in insurance, the answer is it depends on the
Mhm.
scenario. So most insurance, for it to cover, there has to be a sudden accidental event that occurs at a specific time and place. So what I mean by that is if a truck lights on fire or the storage unit or the house lights on fire, we know exactly what happened, when it happened, and what caused it. It's covered by the policy. But what if something doesn't show up to your house and is just lost? We don't know when it happened. There was no break-in. Nothing. There's just nothing out there. Your couch went on the truck and it didn't end up at your place and it's in the ether. So those generally are not covered by insurance or in transit. So you have to be careful, and you have to know who you're working with, and you have to know what policy you have. So I always stress, especially for military families, work with a company that works with military families. I can speak from experience through ours. We have policies that are designed to cover your belongings in different locations, no matter where you're at, oftentimes no matter where you're at in the world. So companies that work with military, such as ours, we're going to look at that and go, okay, you're transitioning, you're there, we've got worldwide coverage. We also have endorsements or policies that can cover things like mysterious disappearance. So if that couch or that sectional, and I think I've regaled the story before, we've had it where a sectional went on a truck and half of it didn't show up. And where did it go? Well, because they're mysteriously disappeared and the coverage was on there, you can actually get those, get those items covered. But I'll be honest, not every insurance company does that. In fact, I'd say 90 to 95% of them don't cover those things. So work with the company that works with military, work with a company that understands what you do and what your lifestyle is probably the best advice I can give. So it is covered, because again, if it's in transit, a lot of times companies won't cover it. Has, your standard insurance company go, no, it wasn't at your home of location, or we only cover 10% away from the home. There's all kinds of caveats in these policies. So that's the best thing. I don't know if I answered your question, Megan, and I can, if you want to redirect, I'll be happy to. Again, it's a ton of information, but yeah, work with a company that understands you, and that'll help ask those questions. What happens if, and they'll be able to get you covered. The good news is a lot of our agents know that, they're like, oh, you're moving. We know what you need to get covered. Here's the best advice for you.
Yeah, no, that definitely answers it and helps. And as you said, being able to know what your policy is and all those little pieces. I'm the type of person, even with our car, I'm like, I want all the insurance, because if something happens, like, I don't want to have to worry about. So we probably are like over covered, over insured, over whatever, because I'm the paranoid person.
And that's everybody's risk assessment is different. Some people will self-insure more where others won't. And it's just how risk adverse are you? Is there a wrong answer? No. Some people can afford to not take as much insurance because they know if the unlikely event something happens, they can afford to. Others are like, you know what, even if I can afford to or not, I don't want to deal with it. I want to hand it off to a third party. So I'll pay that monthly to make sure that if something happens, I can just make a phone call and I don't want to say it all goes away, but there's somebody that comes in that helps and takes care of it. So every family's got to make that own assessment for them.
I'm that person. I want to call and say, this is what happened. And then like the next day, magically a new car appears in my driveway.
Well, right. That sounds wonderful. I like that.
That's the type of person I am. Every year we have many families that go to or from an Oconus location. What do these families really need to know about insurance? Especially, we say coverage is worldwide, but sometimes there's different things because you're going to a country that may have other requirements or regulations, and they want to ship a vehicle. We have orders to Germany. Everything just transfers. I just update my address. We're good, right?
Yep. Well, again, Megan,
Maybe.
it depends. Maybe it depends. Overseas gets tricky. We'll say American insurance companies tend to only like to insure in America. That's not because they don't like other countries. It's just the laws, the rules, the litigation. It is just too much for them. They'd have to have legal departments in every company. It's too much in every country. It's too much. But I'm going to take personal property first, your belongings, because that's really easy. There are companies out there, again, that work with military, such as our own, that our personal property coverage is worldwide. So if you've got like a renter policy or personal property policy with us, and there are other companies out there that do this as well, so I don't want to make it sound like we're the only one that does it, but there aren't many. All you have to do is call us and change your address to a Germany or Italy or Japan or wherever, and it goes with you. Your coverage goes with you. You forget to call, that's fine. We're still going to cover you as long as the bill's getting paid. The coverage is there. It doesn't matter where your belongings are at. Again, companies that work with military understand. So personal property, talk to your agent. Make sure your items are covered as it goes overseas and on whatever and in the box, in the Conex box, on the boat, wherever it's at. Make sure it's covered through that move. On the auto, you definitely want to make sure, and this is something we don't deal with personally in our company, so I will just throw that caveat out there. But what I will tell you is this: talk to your auto insurance company. Let them know you're going over there, because when that vehicle gets over to wherever you're headed, you want to make sure coverage is ready day one. So, because there's different liability laws and different rules. So companies that work with military, again, or government employees will have programs set up for this. And I'm sure most of you know who they are. If not, talk to your current company you're with, and they probably do that. But their vehicle will be covered over there. But you've got to get your policy set up that way. If you leave with a Virginia auto policy and you head over to Germany and think it's going to be covered, it won't. You can get away with that in Canada. You should call, but there's some reciprocity in Canada, but we're not talking Canada. We're talking on the boat, going over to Europe or Japan. So make sure you call your company. And importantly, the question you need to ask is my vehicle covered in transit? Once I load it on the boat and the boat goes over, what happens if the boat doesn't make it? It capsizes, it lights on fire, the car just doesn't show up.
Your car is in the container stacked on the very top, and it hits a wave, and that container falls off.
And it becomes habitat for various aquamarine animals. So the point is, ask them about marine insurance. Make sure your vehicle is covered for damage, for loss, for just not showing up when it gets there. But yeah, again, talk to your insurance company. I'm over and over, I'm going to say that. Talk to your insurance company, because it is the best thing to do. Be honest with them. Let them know your scenario. There are no wrong answers. Nobody judges, or at least they shouldn't judge what the scenario is, and they'll get you the coverage they need.
And we ask these random weird questions because either we've had that experience, or we know somebody who's had that experience, or we read a story in one of the Facebook spouse groups of somebody having that experience. And it's one of those like, well, if it happened to them, it could happen to us. So I know there's been times where our insurance agent has just been like looking at us like we were crazy with three heads. I'm just like, no, like this has happened. I want to know, are we covered in that case? And so being able to talk to your insurance agent, and if your insurance agent, if they don't know, or that company, whoever you're insured with, doesn't cover in transit or in storage, or able to take your car across the ocean to another country, it's okay to shop around. It's okay to move your insurance elsewhere, because while you might have been with that company for the last, 18 years, you got to make sure your stuff is covered, because you want to make sure in the event something happens to you and your family and your stuff, that it's easy for you guys to be able to replace things and be able to move on.
Right. And one thing I'll throw in there, maybe you're leaving a vehicle behind.
Yes.
Call your insurance company, because you don't need to be paying the full boat, per se, or the full coverage on that vehicle. If your vehicle's in storage, you don't need liability. Nobody's driving it. You might not need collision coverage. Nobody's driving it. You might just want to cover it for theft, tornado, fire, damage, whatever damage. We'll call it act of God is what they would call that, or comprehensive coverage. So there's storage units, especially for military. Most companies are like, oh, you're deployed, you're overseas, your family's moving, but you're going to leave a car behind. Yeah, we'll just put it on, I don't want to call it a vacation policy, but they'll have a military or vacation style policy that they can put that, which greatly reduces the cost because it reduces the coverage. So again, talk to your agent about that.
Yeah, no, we've definitely done that several times when my husband was deployed or on rotation somewhere, that we've left his truck with us, and I drove it once a week. It was the vehicle we drove to church, and so it drove 12 miles a month. And so our agent was able to put it into a low usage policy, so that way they knew it wasn't being driven regularly most of the time, except for that 12-mile trip each week. It sat in our driveway. So definitely. So we talk a lot about, especially in my PCS group, about having your own home inventory for insurance claims. We know, I mean, if something happens for the moving company, we have to itemize everything that's in our shipment for the moving company claim. Do families really, I mean, besides that case, when they have to sit down and do it, do families really need one beforehand? Should they go ahead and make one to have as a just in case? Do we also need appraisals and photos and receipts, or is it just saying, hey, we had the KitchenAid toaster, good enough?
I, for the most part, general household items, I mean, are you going to inventory how many shirts or t-shirts you have or pants? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
High dollar items, absolutely. I would have an inventory of high dollar items. And what I mean by high dollar items are your TVs, your electronics, your games, your kids' toys. And having those is important because if there is a loss, you can go and say, here it is. It's a lot easier for you to say, yes, I had that 80-inch television. Here's my 80-inch Sony OLED or whatever they are now, TVs, versus not having it. So I would absolutely recommend anything of value to have it. The best thing you could probably do, take pictures.
Mm-hmm.
It's super easy. I mean, yes, sitting on a spreadsheet is really only for accountants, financial people, and those who are very in that, got to have it out.
You're breaking my heart right now.
I know I am. I know. I'm sorry. But it's good to do that. I recommend doing that. But for those who don't want to, take pictures. Take your phone, walk in your rooms, snap pictures of each room, of your kids' rooms, of your bedroom, of your living room, your kitchen. So that way you have a record. Store that in a folder that just says insurance photos and put it away and hope you never have to open it. Come back, hopefully 10 years from now, you'll be like, what is this? Oh, I don't have that stuff anymore. Great. But the point is, take pictures of it, keep an inventory, especially the high dollars, because if you have it documented and it goes missing, you have a case. If you don't have it documented, it's like anything else. They're just going to shrug their shoulders and say, prove it on potentially, especially for random items. Yes. Now, high dollar items as well, like jewelry, firearms, furs. I don't know if anybody has any furs anymore, but furs, artwork, antiques, you definitely want to have appraisals on those. And also consider what's called like a floater VIP policy, valuable items policy is what that stands for, or schedule it on your policy, because those aren't always covered up to the value of your items. Your $10,000 engagement and wedding band set might only be covered for $500 in certain situations. So having extra coverage on those, talking to your agent about those high dollar items. And what are high dollar items? I don't know. Again, it gets into self-insurance. How much do you want to take on versus the other? But anything over $1,000 on a ring, on antiques, things like that, I would start recommending asking, because adding that coverage is inexpensive. I mean, our policies are $9 per 1,000. So if you had $1,000 ring and you want to make sure it was covered worldwide for anything that happened to it, or most anything, including mysterious disappearance, the diamond falling out, it'd be $9 a year to cover that. If you had, a $10,000 ring, it'd be $90 a year. It's real simple math, and it's a really easy product to get. But yes, inventory is key. I would recommend having it. Most insurance companies will have some advice or some schedules that you can put out there or write down that you can, just download and take with you. So definitely inventory for any type of loss situation is key.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've got that Excel template. We'll drop it into the comments later to not mess up our internet, because Kansas is trying to experience summer today with the windstorm. So we're going to try not to mess too much with our internet right now and doing too much. But we're going to drop the link for that Excel spreadsheet. So those of you like me who enjoy having files and things listed out can go and do that. You can be as detailed or undetailed as you want. We made it in Excel because the moving industry usually requests, you can put it into an Excel, make your different columns. We've already done that for you. I will say for us, like, I have a ceramic Christmas tree collection. I have each one of those listed out. My Polish pottery, I have them listed out because they're different pieces, different patterns, things like that. Our everyday dishes, it says like 12 Fiesta-ware dinner plates. Multiple colors. I don't have every one of those listed out. I have not inventoried our clothes besides my husband's dress uniforms, which we all know cost a good hefty penny, and my wedding dress. The rest of our clothes, I figure, can easily be replaced. We can figure that out later. So you have the ability to make it as inventoried or uninventoried as you want. But the pictures is always a good idea. And that leads us to a question that Isabel in the comments has
Oh,
here.
yeah.
So she is asking, so Isabel, if you don't know, our wonderful friends at Logsome Mill Moves, we know a lot of moving companies are transitioning to using a digital or video pre-survey type of thing, where you use your phone, you use an app, you basically walk around your home, you take a video, and they use that to determine the size of your shipment. So they know how many boxes you need, how much truck space, all of that. So she's asking, is a professional video survey of the home sufficient when establishing the inventory for replacement coverage? So instead of having pictures or itemized inventory, could I take a copy of this video that they used for my survey and email that to my insurance person and say, here's what we had to show us
I'll
proof of having?
I would say in most cases, and I will always preface with it depends, and most likely I will never say 100% yes, because in insurance it's never 100%. Plus a lot of it depends on your claims adjuster and the company and how liberal or how conservative, and I don't mean that in a political way. I mean that in a, how they view the claim. Um, It all depends on them, but yes, any proof that you have, this professional video survey actually sounds amazing, and would be there to say, yes, here is documented proof at this time and date that I had these items that I'm saying I have. That's really the crux of it. Is they just don't want they don't want people to claim things they don't have, because their whole goal is to replace what you have and nothing more. I mean, that's what we were contracted to do. That's what you paid us to do. So yes, I would say those surveys would be wonderful. Any proof you have, written proof like the home inventory, is crucial and key. And you know what? It makes the claim process easier. We had a break-in one time here. This was 2010. All of our items were stolen. The cops were like, "Hey, do you have any of the serial numbers?" I was like, "Actually, we do, because we moved so much, like many of you. We still had boxes that we'd throw the TV back in or throw the game console back in, gave them all the info, and they had the people arrested within 24 hours because they tried to pawn it. So, I mean, the cops were headed to their door, and we got most of our stuff back. So even in a non-insurance situation, in a police situation, um, it can be very valuable to have that proof that you had it. It's just, so yes, that video survey sounds, I guess, Dan, that's a long way to answer your question. Yes, that's video survey sounds great. Video survey, pictures, definitely write down, especially the higher ticket items on your, inventory, all crucial.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Isabel, thank you for this, Isabel, that they do counsel their clients to go through their insurance companies, and send them like the fresh photos and all of that as well.
Well, yeah.
Is it?
And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and Isabel, can you please add in there to counsel them to keep their insurance in place, or to double check that it will cover in transit and in storage in the event something it does happen, that they still have it as well.
That's the biggest key. Yep. Because insurance companies won't cover rough handling of items. No insurance company will, that I know of. If the mover damages it, such as improper packing, things like that. But things like fire, tornado, theft, someone breaks into the vehicle and takes things, absolutely, the coverage is there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so just to remind all of our military families watching, the moving industry, so their liability is $6 per pound up to $75,000. So if you have a 10,000 pound shipment at $6 per pound, they're only liable up to $60,000. So if you have a catastrophic loss and it takes $125,000 to replace everything in your home, anything above that 60,000, you would then go to your private insurance for. Also, in terms of PCSing, we have our high value inventory, and the general rule of thumb for those types of items, which would be also probably the same group of things that you would want to look at, to what Bryce said, making sure that there may be specific coverage needed for those items, is anything that's $100 per pound or more, irreplaceable, hard to replace, collections, china, crystal, jewelry, and currency of some kind. And collections, so we have a sports memorabilia collection. I should probably go get it appraised because it's slowly growing. But we have that. Some people have the Nike shoe collection, or a very expensive handbag collection as well, that those things are considered high value. So you can be able to put those on the inventory. It is recommended that you do have your own pictures and your own personal inventory as to your shoes and your purses, the make, model, design. Some of the purses I know are serial number dependent on the maker. Have those all listed and written down for your own reference as well.
Okay.
So we know, so say we're in that phase of maybe we sold our home and that coverage ended, and we bought a home, but we have maybe 2 months until we arrive in that home. My spouse has to go into a school or something, TDY, en route to our new home. Is there some sort of coverage policy or extra coverage that we could get, like a supplemental option for like maybe just that short amount of time? Or maybe I just want, for the 2 months we're moving, added something extra
Right.
to our already owned policy?
That gets a little difficult, and I'm not saying there's not any. There's not a specific, like, that I'm aware of, just a 2-month, 1-month policy that'll get you through that gap. So I would say do these things.
Mm-hmm.
One, talk to your agent, let them know your situation so they can help piece that together. The storage unit or the moving company oftentimes will offer supplemental coverage or coverage for personal property, or at least check with them to see if they do. I shouldn't say oftentimes they do, they may or may not, but I would check there.
Mm-hmm.
What we can do oftentimes when we'll have a member that is selling their house April 1st, but they're not moving into, say, July 1st, but they've got this window. Well, I don't want to keep their home policy going for 3 months. That seems ridiculous. And we don't want to start their new policy on their new home on July, say today for July 1st, because that's too far out. We're not insuring that home. They don't even own it yet. So we will put into place a personal property policy for them to get them through that coverage, because we don't want to, again, we want a happy member, a happy insured. We don't want someone who gets something happens in tornado season here in Kansas, or hurricane season in Virginia, or or Florida or South Carolina, wherever it is. So we will put, there are ways to work a personal property type policy. And again, it goes back to those companies that work with military families. Would a renter's policy be good from, say, like a standard insurance carrier out there? Probably not, because it may, but they only will cover where you're at. They don't always
Mm-hmm.
cover things in storage, or they only cover 10% in storage. Where again, our policy is worldwide. We don't care where it's at. We just need an address to send the bill. So, I mean, I just being completely blunt and honest. So it's
No, it's good.
it's one of those. So the companies that understand your moves, the companies that are out there like ours, those military type companies, when I say military type, those who who focus and work with military families, can often find the solution for you. But it is important, because again, fires and tornadoes happen to storage areas just like they do at your regular home. So
Yes, and we've seen hurricanes hit storage,
yep.
the big storage warehouses down through Florida and stuff over the last couple of years. Again, the liability coverage from the moving industry kicks in first, and then anything above that is always with your private insurance policy. We talked a lot of insurance stuff today. Is there anything that we haven't mentioned that you want to mention, or that you just want to make sure that we understood the first time?
Yeah, guys and gals, everyone who's out there, um, just get insurance. It is important. I don't say get insurance. Check with your agent. That's what I want to stress, and I've stressed that a lot today. You probably all have it. Check with your agent and make sure you're covered. Again, share the scenarios with them. If you don't have insurance, or you're sitting on that fence, or you're like, I don't have much to insure, I only got $10,000 to insure, my stuff isn't worth anything. Believe me, it's worth more than you think, because again, it goes into that scenario of, you might have bought it 10 years ago, but that doesn't mean you got to buy it new today, and it's worth more. There's T-shirts don't cost the same as they did 10 years ago. And I don't care if you got, if it's a ratty pair of jeans, you're going to buy a new pair of jeans, and they might not be on sale. So always consider covering your belongings. It will give you that peace of mind if there's fire. A lot of times it'll pay for a place to stay if if your place that you're living in is damaged and you can't go back to, so you don't have to worry about hotel rooms. But at the end of the day, talk to your agent, let them know your situation, and have them help you best navigate your options. And then you can decide what insurance you want to take and what you don't. But talk to your agent. It's the best advice I can give. And do it before you move. Don't do it after. Don't do it in transit. Once your stuff gets in the moving company, it gets a lot harder to deal with. Call before that day, even if it's 2-3 weeks out, call before and make sure you get a plan set up with your insurance company.
Yes. If you are planning a move this summer, now is the great
Now,
time to
yep.
be reaching out and trying to figure out. And if you're one of those people that are just like, I want the bare minimum, I don't know like what it would take to replace my stuff, sit down, go through. My favorite thing is I go through Amazon and I find the most similar ish type of thing and I add it to my cart and I see what that value comes out to be. I will say you can only add 52 items into your Amazon cart at a time. Don't ask me how I know, but I know. You can only have 52 items in your Amazon cart at a time before it removes the oldest item into your save for later list. But you can go through, or go on Macy's or whatever website, add those things, go on Best Buy, add all your electronics from there, and you can get a general idea of what it would cost if you needed to replace those items now. Add those numbers together and then see where your coverage is, because maybe you have more coverage than you need and you're just like, I could lower this and be okay. Whereas to me, I'm like, I need all of the coverage. I want everything to not have to try to figure it out. But it's a way to be able to see, how much is it going to take to replace things versus what do you have actually covered.
Yeah, my experience is an 80. It's the 80/20 rule.
Mhm.
20% are probably overinsured, have too much coverage, but 80% of us just don't think it's too much. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So our wonderful friends at Armed Forces Insurance, if somebody's out there and they're with
Mhm.
an insurance company, they talk to their agent, they realize that they don't cover their stuff the way it probably needs to be. They have got orders OCONUS. How can they maybe reach out to Armed Forces Insurance to talk to one of your agents about policies or get quotes or anything like that? What's
Yeah,
the easiest way for them to reach out?
actually, the easiest way, go online to afi.org. That's just, I don't know if you can see it in the background there, but www.afi.org. Shameless plug here. If you go online, all of our products are listed. We're actually revamping our educational website through our foundation to get more of this information out to you all. And more importantly, you can go on and get a quote, whether that be for home insurance or renter insurance, or our personal property renter insurance. You can actually bind right there online. So if you get the price and like it, you can pick it up that day and go. It's great for anybody who's moving into. It's great for anybody who's moving in right away, needs it for their base housing or needs it for their landlord. We can get you all the information you need right there. But yeah, if you go online to afi.org, you can get a quote, or you can give us a call. I mean, our phone number is on our website, but it's 800-495-8234. That's 800-495-8234. Give us a call. And our agents that's what they do. They work with families like yours every day. A lot of them are, you know, are former military or spouses or former spouses where they've done 14 PCSs. They know the lifestyle. They're like, oh, I lived it, 20 plus years of military life. And now I'm doing, we're working here because we're retired to the area, or maybe they retired somewhere else and work for us, but they know the life. They can relate, and they can help you through it of what, again, we're here to educate, get you the right products. They won't push what you don't need, but they'll definitely let you know what's available for you.
Yes, no, definitely. Like I said, shopping around, getting a couple quotes, making sure you find the policy that fits best for your family, your needs, and where you're living at or maybe moving to. It's definitely now's the time to start looking at all of that. Because yeah, PCS season's right around the corner, y'all.
So it's
Um,
happening, and yeah, you don't want to have something happen, the unexpected happen, and not be covered. So that's why I encourage, talk to anybody. If it's not us, someone else, but
mhm.
someone, make sure you know your options and take what's best for your family.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Bryce, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us.
Absolutely, Megan. Thank you. Technical difficulties and all, we did it.
Yes, we can prevail.
Yeah.
Like I said, Kansas is on their trial day of summer today as it gets up into, I think, 81 is our high,
Yeah.
but we've also got a wind advisory as well. So we're experiencing all of that. Everyone else who joined us today, thank you for taking the time out of your days to join us. Hopefully you've learned something. If you've got a friend PCSing, tag them in the comments, share this video with them, because everybody needs to know about insurance and moving and making sure that your stuff is covered in the event of one of those catastrophic losses that we hate hearing about every year. Join us again next week, same time, same place. We're going to be talking about our pre-packing tips and preparing your home for your PCS in all of my favorite ways. And if you guys are preparing for your PCS in the middle of one, you got questions, comments, concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're always more than happy to help as much as we can, or direct you to the resource or office person to talk to help you with your issue. And until next week, remember, take care of each other.